In 2021, ICP launched one of the biggest projects in the crypto industry at about $400 a token, but over the previous bear market, those gains would be wiped away and ICP would have a brutal bear market, pushing it down to sub $10 levels. The big question is in 2025, is ICP going to resurrect, going to come out of that $5 to $10 price area? I think currently it's around $10 per share. Is 2025 going to be the year of ICP? What are the fundamentals of ICP? What are the tokenomics? And what are the charts saying to know, is ICP a good investment for 2025? Now, you can compare ICP to things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, any of the other major tokens like Solana or BNB token. Why would you invest in ICP over these things? What unique advantages does ICP have? These are the questions we're going to answer in this video. Also, if you're new to my channel, my name is Dawson. In the description is my crypto 100x blueprint. It's how I am planning to 100x my portfolio this cycle. All the strategies that I use to analyze and pick things that I invest in based on just kind of what I've seen work and what hasn't worked for me over the past couple years. So if you're interested in that, get it in the description. Now, the first thing I want to talk about with ICP is everything that it does good. I think we should look at everything it does good, everything it does bad, and then what is the price predictions. And good and bad is just my opinion, basically. Some people will think other things are good, other things are bad. Some people will like ICP more than others. And so this is just what I personally think about the chain. Now, as far as what's good is the technology it's bringing to the table. There is no arguing the fact that chain key cryptography and the ability to kind of scale the internet and have a blockchain that represents basically an open web browser, that is a very powerful thing. It has a lot of potential for good for future use case, and we can already see developers getting in there and building things like a decentralized blockchain-based email or a decentralized blockchain-based Discord, or web pages or blogs, all of this hosted directly on chain. And when you have things like this hosted directly on chain, it makes it much harder to hack or change or kind of be abused in a cybersecurity way, right? And so ICP is kind of pushing the boundaries in ways that not many other cryptocurrencies are. Some of its main competitors are file-based companies like Filecoin or decentralized cloud storage, decentralized node providers, but none of those really have the same type of web browsing experience and transaction burning of ICP experience, where developers are uploading canisters, developers are basically paying the gas on the back end, and there is not many other Web3 projects that are mirroring what we currently have in Google and in Bing and in Safari as far as search engine and on-chain browsing capabilities. So the first big thing ICP is doing really well is it's providing a very unique solution in the blockchain space. You have things like Ethereum and Bitcoin and Cardano, which to me are more like financial settlement layers. To me, ICP is more like the next generation after that, like something where users are getting on the internet and getting onto the blockchain and exploring and searching and finding data and finding resources. And instead of doing that on Google or Safari, like instead of doing it on Chrome, they're then doing it on ICP. The problem is right now ICP just doesn't have all the data that something like a Google Chrome would. So after that kind of unique thing it's trying to provide to the ecosystem, it has other benefits that it's bringing to the crypto world, mainly chain key cryptography, which basically means it is their own version of cryptography, the smart contract layers, and the way that they process data in smart contracts. And they're able to use that chain key cryptography to bring things like native Bitcoin, native Ethereum, native Solana, or native any other token that they choose to the ICP blockchain. They do this by creating new subnets, basically opening new computers and a new section of the blockchain specific to this kind of scenario. And the big thing that they're doing with it right now is CK Bitcoin, or chain key Bitcoin. And this basically allows Bitcoin holders to send their Bitcoin, their native Bitcoin, to ICP's Bitcoin subnet, their CK Bitcoin subnet, and this will hold the Bitcoin there and mint out CK Bitcoin. Kind of like a bridge, but not 100% the same thing as a bridge. Basically, it allows you to take native Bitcoin, send it to ICP, and use that Bitcoin on ICP as CK Bitcoin. But when you're using it, it transfers all of the transaction and the data and the history back to the Bitcoin blockchain as you reconvert CK Bitcoin back to Bitcoin. So it's kind of like a bridge, but it goes an extra layer and still does like these native transactions and communicates it down to the Bitcoin layer. After CK Bitcoin, the interoperability of ICP and the subnets and the scaling is another major thing that it has going for it. The fact that ICP is technically not limited to scalability requirements because it can always add more nodes, which means more computers, and it can always open more subnets, different sections, different shards of the blockchain. And so you kind of have this idea where you could have an infinitely scalable blockchain because you can always add more computers and you can always add more subnets. You can also kind of decentralize blockchains by keeping certain subnets for one thing, certain subnets for another thing, and one subnet can go down without affecting the whole entire blockchain, right? Basically you can think of it as like one server farm can go down without affecting the whole internet. In ICP, one subnet can be compromised, the rest of the blockchain will still run and still be able to kind of find its state within itself. So ICP's got chain key cryptography. It's bringing the internet to the blockchain, right? In true Web3 fashion. It's very programmable. It's very interoperable. It has subnets for infinite scaling. Then on top of that, it has an amazing governance system. The fact that every ICP holder has the ability to vote in governance and kind of have their say and do their thing on different protocols or different proposals in the ICP ecosystem, whether it's spending money or changing parameters or funding things. Everyone in ICP who is an ICP holder has the ability to stake their tokens and vote on the protocol. And that's a very big thing, I think, in Web3. I think as time goes on, decentralization, governance, voting, participation is going to be a much bigger thing in the crypto industry than we actually think. And it's not going to be so much about speed all the time. These other ideas of decentralization and centralization and voting and governance are going to become more and more important as more people get into crypto. Because in my opinion, crypto was started to get away from things that we currently do in our fiat lives or in our governmental lives and kind of have a rebellious nature to it. And so I think in the short term, those things have not been pushed very hard in the crypto industry, but long term, the traditional ideas of what crypto was founded for will be prevalent. And so the governance and the NNS voting system in ICP is very, very powerful, especially for the majority of people who want to earn rewards, want to earn staking rights, want to earn anything and have a say in the blockchain. Now, ICP is very scalable and it's very decentralized. The fact that you can put up a blog post and theoretically, nobody can take that blog post down from you. Whereas in the traditional world, our fiat world, if you pay WordPress and you put up a blog post, WordPress can say that violates our terms and they can block you, right? You can use an email newsletter. Like I have email newsletters for my business. And I've had times when I've been blocked on the email newsletter and they've shut my account down or locked my account down because I needed further review, right? This just happened to me with my email service and it took me about a week or two to get it unblocked. This theoretically would not happen on ICP because anything you would post on the internet or any type of canister you would open would be decentralized and you would kind of be in control. In our current internet world, that is not really the case. We have a lot of regulations. We have companies that have their best interests in mind and want to kind of protect things or regulate things. ICP is kind of decentralizing that idea. And on the spectrum of decentralization, I don't think it's the most decentralized out there, but it is more decentralized than the current internet system that we currently use. The final big positive thing I want to say about ICP is, one, it has a lot of developers. That's great. Two, it has committed to continuing the process, right? ICP had a lot of negative news, a lot of drama, a lot of backlash in its first couple years with the Definity organization, with ICP, and with the token launch, and with venture capital, and with FTX and all those things. ICP had a lot of drama, and it's very good that they're still around working and programming and building, and technically they have a better product now than they did years ago when they were worth $400 or $300 or $200, right? And so the ICP community, the developers, the leaders are doing very well in that regard. The last thing I want to say is that if you are looking for an AI project, or if you think AI is a big deal, ICP has had a tremendous commitment because they're kind of like the Google Chrome of blockchain, because they're kind of like the internet of the blockchain. They have a massive commitment to AI on their chain, and this can, if you like AI, this can be a great place for you to find AI natively interacting with smart contracts and natively interacting with on-chain data. So that is another big thing ICP is bringing to the table, whereas Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, they don't really have AI integrated to the chain. They don't have that as a big selling point. And as far as I know, there's some other small tokens, kind of new and up-and-coming tokens doing that. But in the top L1 tokens that people typically talk about, ICP is definitely in that conversation. They're the only major big one that I'm aware of doing things like Web3 compute with AI, with smart contracts. Now, that's all the positives. That's all the things that I think ICP is doing really well. And I want to make sure to put that ahead of the game so people know I do think ICP does good things. I made ICP in the videos in the past just about the things I don't like, and they always get a lot of backlash. So I want to make sure I highlight what I do enjoy about the blockchain. Now, the things that I don't necessarily agree with, or in my opinion are bad about the ICP protocol, is that the token does not have a cap supply. So ICP does not have a cap supply. It's inflating anywhere from 5 to 10% a year. As far as my rough calculations I did a while ago, that could be changed a little bit, but ICP is inflationary. Now, people will always come back at me and say ICP has a burning mechanism. Over 600,000 ICP have been burned so far, but that burning amount so far does not have a very big impact on the amount of ICP being minted, okay? And so over the past couple years, there's been 100 million ICP being minted, or some crazy big number. Maybe I'm off by a couple tens or 20s of millions. But the big thing is ICP is inflationary. It has a burning mechanism, but people are not spending enough ICP. They're not doing enough transactions, and they're not spending enough canisters for ICP burning to make any sort of difference with ICP inflationary tokenomics. And so to me, I think, again, crypto is a safe haven from the fiat world. And if I wanted to invest in inflationary things, I could just go invest into the dollar, right? Into stocks, which I already do. I have a lot of stocks and stuff. And so in my opinion, crypto does need to kind of fight the inflationary habits of the financial world. And with ICP currently, that is not happening. Now, maybe in 10 years, 5 years, right? Maybe next cycle, things could be different and burning could have more of an impact on the inflationary tokenomics. But right now it's not the case, and it's really not even close to the gap that would have to be made. From that also, because of the inflationary tokenomics, the only way that you're going to be able to keep up with inflation on ICP is by staking your tokens, staking your ICP, locking them in a smart contract because they have locked staking, and then using that and kind of joining governance and getting voting rewards. This is a whole nother big thing. I typically do not like locked staking. I never locked my Ethereum for staking. I love Cardano because it doesn't have locked staking, it has liquid staking. And ICP is kind of forcing holders into this chokehold, in my opinion, where because they have inflationary tokenomics, if you're going to hold ICP, you then need to stake your tokens in order to keep up with inflation. And the only people really keeping up with inflation and doing well against ICP's inflation is those who are locking for a couple years. You have a bunch of different options, like a 3 month, 6 month, 9 month, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, 7 year, 8 year, something like that. You have a ton of options of how long you stake your ICP, right? The ones who are making the most return are obviously those who are locking for 8 years plus. And so the longer you lock your stake, the more ICP you receive. In my opinion, this is kind of it's not a losing situation, but it puts a retail investor at sort of a disadvantage, because when you lock your stake for that long, you are locked into this early stage crypto position, and you have a lot of potential downside and a lot of potential risk on capital just because of how cyclical and volatile the crypto industry is. After that, also going into the inflationary tokenomics and the voting, is that only certain people are allowed to run ICP nodes. Now, this is said to be because ICP nodes are expensive. You need a certain caliber of hardware, which is true. I get it. Every blockchain has a certain caliber of hardware that's needed, whether it's going to cost $500 or $5,000, right? Every blockchain has a certain requirement. And with the inflationary tokenomics, with the voting rewards given out to people who, are voting with a lot of ICP, with people who are locking their stake for a long term, earning more ICP, you can see how all these are kind of working together. Then we get to this idea that not everyone can run a validator, and those who do run a validator get rewards. Well, in my opinion, this is also not a very good retail friendly situation, because in order to be truly decentralized, you want anyone to be able to run a validator who wants to run a validator, not 130 people who have been voted in by the committee, by the NNS committee, by people in the governance, right? And so, in my opinion, anyone should be able to run a validator regardless of their hardware. If they just don't have good enough hardware, they're just not going to mint blocks, right? I understand that this produces vulnerabilities in subnets and maybe doesn't meet all the requirements, but in an open decentralized ecosystem, you want anyone to be able to run a validator. On top of that, those who are running validators get more rewards, they get more ICP, they get more voting rewards because they have more ICP voting into the NNS. And so it's kind of this spiral loop that those with more power continue to have more power, continue to earn more power, and then they control kind of the governance and the voting. And so In my opinion, I think a better alternative would be not locking your stake, not having inflationary tokenomics, not having a node system or a validator system where only certain people can be voted in, and then, not letting just those people who are most powerful benefiting the most, because that's not the best case of decentralization. The final negative thing I would say about ICP, the big question in the back of my mind that I would want to raise before we move into the price chart of ICP is ICP ahead of its time a little bit? And some people might not see that as a problem, but to me, I kind of look at the cycle by cycle narrative as like what worked last cycle, the same thing's probably going to work this cycle. Cycle over cycle, things don't change that much. And so I just question, I question if blockchain gaming is really necessary. I don't think it's a great sector to invest in because I don't think it's necessary. Yes, prices go up in the massive bull market, so that's okay. But part of me questions whether AI-based Web3 internets is what the world is ready for. Like, the world doesn't even feel ready for Bitcoin. The world doesn't even feel ready for Ethereum and Cardano and Solana, these base layer financial blockchains. And so the big question to me is the world ready for a decentralized internet hosted on ICP? And then if they are ready for it, do they want ICP and Definity and the people who have been collecting ICP this whole time to basically be in charge of that internet, right? Do they want it to kind of have like a monetary value to the World Wide Web, in this kind of weird way where we don't really have it now? Maybe it's a bit more similar to the www that we currently use because service providers kind of control the internet, and then, we all kind of just feed off of it and pay our monthly subscription, right, to internet access. Maybe that's what ICP is going to be like in the future. But the big question in the back of my mind is, when does the transition happen from people using Google Chrome and Firefox and all this to when do those companies merge to something like an ICP? And how do users go from Web 2 to Web 3 and understand the difference and want to have the difference? Now, I think ICP has to develop this thing regardless because somebody has to do it first. The big question in the back of my mind is the person who invents the first computer is not necessarily the person who becomes Apple, right? And so the big question in the back of my mind is ICP something people are ready for? Is it an investment that's going to make a difference this cycle? And I'm just not 100% sold on that idea. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the fundamentals and the tokenomics of ICP, what makes it good, what makes it bad. The final thing I think that's important after those two is looking at the price, because price shouldn't be the first thing that you look at. It's very confusing and very irrational and doesn't allow you to think straight. So in order to not be an emotional investor, you want to look at fundamentals, then you want to look at tokenomics, and you kind of want to round out an idea without looking at the price. And then after that, we can go into this price discovery mode. Now, you can see ICP, obviously, in 2021 had this massive initial launch, right? We know the story about the venture capitalists. We know the story about the FTX drama. We know all of this stuff. ICP has had a long and hard bear market, all right? But the big thing that I want to focus on is this. This is the bottom for ICP. ICP got down here to around $3 at its bottoming point. And I think that this is more important to look at. This new structure starting in September 2023 from the bottom to where we are today. I think this is going to allow us to kind of reset our mind and look at what ICP is doing today and not really use its past history against itself. Now, the first thing I want to point out is that ICP has clearly put in a bottom, right? This is clearly a bottom right here. And because of where we are in the crypto market, in the crypto cycle, there's not really a lot of reason to expect ICP to go lower. Now, Bitcoin could come down and correct, the S&P 500 or the dollar, all that weird stuff can happen. But in my opinion, Bitcoin is continuing to go up. Crypto is continuing to go up. Altcoins haven't really had their massive season yet. And as far as what we've seen every cycle before, ICP is in a good position risk reward wise to continue to go up. There's not a lot of things that are going to make it go down at this point. Bitcoin could continue to come down, correct a little bit, which could draw ICP lower. But as far as the whole broader picture of crypto and the cycles and where everything is, Bitcoin's going up. It's been going up. It will continue to go up long term. ICP and the altcoin market, like Cardano, Solana, ICP, Ethereum, have not had their big move yet, and they deserve to have that big move yet, which is going to be 2025. So in my opinion, in 2025, ICP goes up from here, right? That is just kind of the base case. Now, the question is, how much does it go up though? How much does it go up though? And is that potential reward worth the risk to you. Okay. We highlighted some good things ICP does. We highlighted some bad things. And the big thing that I want you to think about when making an investment is the risk that I'm taking worth the reward that I can get? Okay. And at the end of this video, you're going to see, in my opinion, the risk reward is not in my favor. The risk reward is more in my favor on blockchains where I'm in more control as a retail user and price is depressed. Okay. So I was buying Cardano at like 30 cents because of that. I bought Ethereum at like 1200 because of that and stuff like that. So ICP has some things, some cons that I don't like that we already talked about, which is not a good risk reward for me. I also am going to show you where I think price can go up, and I don't think it's as big, in my opinion, risk reward wise. Okay. So this is what we currently see on the price. The first thing I would want to do is kind of see overall. I mean, first, you can see that price is coming back up, right? Price is getting off of its lows, setting new higher highs. And the next thing we want to see is we want to see another higher high above this higher high here at around $20. Okay. But ICP has made higher highs, right? See, these are lower highs, these are higher highs, and it is making its way upwards. You can even see something a little tricky right here is you have this little upwards momentum, right? Okay. You have this little upward structure. Maybe you even have a channel here. We're not 100% sure yet, but maybe even have something like this, right? Where ICP is going to slowly start to move upwards. That's the first thing that you can kind of look at. But the price structure and the history, there's not a lot of history on the ICP chart, but it's traditionally going up. The next big thing that I want to show you is this Fibonacci retracement. I think that this is a good thing to look at because you can see where ICP kind of bottomed out on this move and is kind of holding this traditional 786 area of support. It's holding it as support. That's great news. Currently, it's made its way back up, holding a 618 as support. This 618 to 786 is a great area for support. It looks like it went into the zone, came out of the zone, and is retesting the zone before, in my opinion, probably going higher. You can also see here that ICP is resting on the bull market support band. So it's just resting here. The big thing you want to see is you want to see it continue to hold this red line and then break back above it, get some more positive momentum, just like we had here. Positive momentum, hold the support, and then keep going upwards. Don't break below it. We don't want it to break below it, but keep going upwards, which so far it is doing quite well. The next thing that you could look at is you could even take away this bull market support band and you could look at the moving average ribbon. Let's also toss on the RSI here just for fun. But you can see the current moving averages that ICP is holding. It's holding, this is a 100 week, this orange one's a 100 week simple moving average. It's holding it quite well. So I would not expect ICP to go below kind of this $8, $9, $10 area where this 100 week is slowly curling upwards. Okay. The next thing that you can see is that this RSI has made a bottom, right? Let's even look at the monthly RSI. Let's see what, ICP doesn't have a lot of data for the monthly RSI, but you can see, one, the monthly RSI is starting to come upwards again, which is, it's good. It's good momentum. The second thing is that on the monthly chart, ICP is holding this 20-week moving average very well. There's not a lot of reasons for it to go below it. So I would look for next month, January, to continue to hold above it, or February to hold above it. And maybe they go sideways, maybe they pop up. Any of those are possible scenarios. Back to our weekly chart, though. The RSI is doing well, going upwards. A lot of things pointing in the right directions for ICP and ICP holders, okay? We're going to look at one final chart here, and this is this BTI Bitcoin top indicator. And what this does is it kind of brings all of the big metrics together to kind of let you know when things are topping out or when things are getting overheated. You can look at it on a daily chart, you can look at it on a weekly chart, and you can see that when it's pink is the highest and like blue is the lowest. So as it gets orange and yellow and pink, that is a topping signal. You can see back here in 2021, it was yellow and orange and a little pink right here, a little red. That is a topping signal. You can see in the bear market, it was completely blue. This is a bottoming signal. Now you can see where we're at today, and we had a little bit of orange back here in March of 2024, but today its risk level is a 5.9 out of a 12 and is currently kind of sitting in this brown-green area. So ICP has not topped yet. It has a lot of room to go upwards, and in my opinion, it will go upwards with the rest of the market. That all begs the question of how high does ICP go this cycle? Where can you expect to sell it? And if I were investing into it, which I am not, I'm not invested into it, where would I expect to sell my ICP? So the first thing I did is I tossed on firstly, what I actually traditionally do is I would look at previous support levels. And in my opinion, this is kind of like right here, which is actually a little low, and then like right here. And so I think, in my opinion, and this is a wide range, people aren't going to like it's a wide range, but somewhere between kind of, maybe this actually, let's put this here. Somewhere between $40 and $80 is where ICP is going to top this cycle. And actually, I think it could come all the way up here to like $100. Maybe it comes up here to this $100 mark, but somewhere between 40 and 80, I think, is a good spot for ICP in this range to kind of set a new, not really a new high because we have this crazy high, but a bull market top somewhere around there. Now, I have this reasoning because one, ICP is inflationary. So as more tokens go into circulation, the market cap is growing. And as the market cap grows, the value of the token will not be able to go as high. So the market cap could be much higher. The market cap today could be equal to what the market cap was over here. So it's almost impossible to continue to reach new all-time highs when your market cap continues to increase like that. Now, or it would take a lot more money to do so. The next thing I want to look at is trend-based Fibonacci extension to kind of see where it shows ICP going and where we can kind of expect it to go. Now, a common spot for Ethereum last cycle was to get between the 2618 and the 3618, and you can see how those are actually kind of lining up with the spots that I just said kind of match this level of resistance that ICP is going to run into in the bull market. So if I would kind of target using this metric, $53 to $71, somewhere in there would be a great spot to sell your ICP. Now, from today's price of about $10, this is about a 5x or a 7x or an 8x maybe. And depending on where you bought it, if you bought it down here, you could be looking at, a 50x or a 70x, right? In my opinion today, ICP's got about, a 5x to a 7x left in it. I think that you could kind of see $50 to $70. And if you saw that for ICP, I would consider taking profits and getting ready to sell your position. To close this video out, I don't really think ICP is worth the risk reward for me, just because I have questions about how many users are ready and willing to bring their stuff into the World Wide Web on the blockchain, or how much usability it has currently in today's market. It could always be a little bit ahead of its game, which somebody always has to be ahead of its game. And then the risk reward factor of what happens when you lock tokens and inflationary and staking and not being able to run validators, all that is kind of putting me, a traditional retail investor, at a disadvantage. And I don't really like investing in things where I'm at a disadvantage. So I'd prefer to not have a locked stake. I'd prefer to have open validators. And I do like a lot of things that ICP does. I laid out all the pros that I love about it, but I also laid out the cons. And so for me, if you're watching this video, I don't think ICP is the best investment this cycle. I think it can go to $50 or $70. So people will make money and you can make money too. But in my opinion, I'd rather stick with things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, stuff that I understand and puts me, the retail investor, at a better advantage. So that's my ICP video for 2025. I think it will do well. I think people will make money. I think you can be at a little bit of a disadvantage investing into the blockchain, but it's doing things in the blockchain world that the technology needs, and it's making great innovation. So I'm very proud of the blockchain and its founders and its developers for that. If you haven't gotten the Crypto 100x Blueprint, it's in the description. We go over tons of things like this. You're going to get a bunch of emails, and you get a free download worksheet to kind of see how I try to 100x my portfolio. I don't think ICP is going to 100x your portfolio, so don't invest into it if that's what you think. But this is my opinion of ICP for 2025. Let me know in the comments if you agree. We thank you for watching the video. Hope you have a great new year, and we will see you definitely in the next one.